All right, got my Game Boy Color out today. We're going to look at a ROM hack for Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3. This is a color hack. I've shown these before. And initially, I wasn't going to show this one. In fact, the author's own description, like the guy that made this hack, his own description was like, it's nothing compared to the Mario Land color hacks. He was kind of downplaying it. And so my expectations weren't very high. And well, let's start the game here. So here we go. My initial look at the game, I actually looked at it on an emulator. And, well, this is what I saw. And, my first, the first thing I thought was, it's too bad they couldn't get a blue sky. Just the white sky in the background is kind of boring. And then I played it on my real Game Boy Color and realized, oh, well, would you look at that? The sky in the background is blue. It's clearly blue. You can see the white clouds in the sky above it. But yeah, in an emulator, especially with the shader on that I had, it looks like it was completely white. It almost looked like the shader was trying to emulate the way that the actual, a Game Boy Color screen, if you just look at the screen when it's not turned on, like it's not perfectly white. Like a bit off gray or off bluish gray. It kind of looked like that. So I thought, okay, well, let's look at it in the emulator without the shaders on. And yeah, at that point, you could tell it was blue. But again, it was nowhere near as blue as the background in this. So, yeah, my initial impressions on this in the emulator were not good. And I'm glad I thought to double check it on my real Game Boy Color. It's not the first time that I've played a Game Boy Color game in an emulator and thought it looks a lot better on the real Game Boy, at least on my Q5 IPS. This is a Q5 laminated IPS. Oops. So yeah, I think Donkey Kong Country, or was it Donkey Kong Land 3, the Japanese Game Boy Color version that I have. It was one of those that I looked at, and I thought, it looks a lot better on this than it does in an emulator. In an emulator, it just looks washed out. And so, yeah, like I said, I'm glad I played it on here. It's a lot better than the author gives it credit for. Is it as good as, like, Super Mario Land 2? The Game Boy Color hack that I've shown for that? No. It would be nice if they could get Wario's, pants to be purple. But that's nitpicking. It looks pretty good. It looks a hell of a lot better than playing this game on, playing the original game on a Game Boy Color. And I really like the use of some of the darker colors in some of the indoor areas. We'll see that a little more in some of the levels coming up. Did that mole just pay to open the door? Usually I have to pay. I think it's 10 coins to open a door. Some nice color here in this little, I guess was the bonus games in between levels there. And actually that looks great. We got the yellow and purple going on there in the background. Obviously the maps are somewhat colorized here. And we got some dark kind of brown background going on here, which for this underground area is pretty suiting. Yeah, this looks a lot better than I expected. And again, initial impressions on the emulator weren't great. So again, I am glad that I decided to check it out on the real thing here. And like I said, not the first time I've seen a Game Boy Color game. I wonder, does anyone have one of those, like, oh, holy shit. I wasn't expecting that thing to jump so high. Does anyone have a Game Boy, like the Analog Pocket? I can't even get in there when I'm small. Can I? Can't even throw a thing at it. Oh, I died? Seriously? Okay, let's skip forward. All right, I'm back here. I skipped a couple, well, I didn't skip. I got through a couple levels off camera there. I wanted to get to this level. Again, in this level, another dark underground level. And hopefully you can see it in camera, but the background is dark red with some details in the dark red. And again, I think that adds quite a bit, having some of the dark blues and the dark reds in the backgrounds of some of the underground levels. Job well done, honestly. I was going to mention the, oh god, hurry up. Hurry up, hurry up. I was going to mention the Analog Pocket. Yeah, if any of you guys have an Analog Pocket, just tell me what level 1 looks like. Does that sky in the background look more like the emulator did? Or did it look as blue as it did on here? I'm curious. Fuck. Well, anyways. We'll leave it there. I gave you a pretty good look at that. And of course, the world map. Only so much they can do for color there, I suppose, but they've added a little bit of color to the different worlds. Not much, but... But when you're playing the game, I think they did a pretty good job with the colors in the levels. Again, if we could just get the purple on the overalls, I think that would just be the touch to finish it off. So I don't know if this is technically, if the author is completely done with it. This is like version 1.1, I believe, or 1.2, which shows that he has been working on it in iterations, or maybe someone else will take over and finish it. If you want to consider it, I don't know. You could consider it finished. It is pretty good. You know, it's not quite up to the level of like when I showed, obviously, Mario Land 2, the color hack for that. Maybe not quite on that level, but the backgrounds look really good. Again, it's a heck of a lot better than playing the original Game Boy release on a Game Boy Color. So it's nice to have. It's definitely nice to have, and definitely worth checking out. If you've got an Analog Pocket, please check it out and let us know in the comments. Does the blue sky in level 1 look like the emulator did, or does it look more like this does? Very curious to know that. And yeah, I guess that's it. See you guys later.